Hello, dear friends and viewers of the Johnny Casual channel. I'm going for a walk in nearby woods. I thought I'd share a little bit of where I live in New England. Just really beautiful. It's a chilly fall day, great day for a walk. These woods are often uninhabitable in the summer with the mosquitoes and black flies. But it's just really, really beautiful right now. Kind of makes watches seem inconsequential, doesn't it? Speaking of which, here we go. Does that Breitling fit the surroundings? I don't really have a workout going for a walk watch. I have some beater watches that I would use for weights, if I did weights. But right now I'm just doing walks. Anyways, it's just a beautiful day. There's some birds crowing or whatever they're cawing. Just me in these quiet woods. Thank God for fat America. Because the woods, the trails are often empty, at least in this part of the country. This isn't Boulder, Colorado, where the trails would be packed and everyone's good looking and healthy. I was gonna chat a little bit about watches, but it seems to be it's just not in me right now. But anyways, I wanted to share this with you all. I'll keep it on for another minute or so. There's this, you might see a little orange sign up here. This is a snowmobile trail, meaning snowmobilers will go on it during the winter. So now's especially a good time to walk because there's no snow or snowmobiles. That might be either a woodpecker or just an old tree. It's creaking. There's not much of a wind. You can see that moist, dark earth. This is not California, my friends. Not that there's anything wrong with California, but it is very, very dry there, especially right now. As those who from California know. It is an interesting thing, though. I will say this, indirectly about watches. It's funny how we want things. It's funny how we want things because we have a feeling of lack. We feel like there's something lacking from our life. And so our culture has, in a sense, based itself upon consumerism. And a lot of people make a lot of money based upon this feeling of lack and inspiring this feeling of lack. It's an odd thing. It's a kind of drug dealing, I would say. It's accepted. It's honored, supported, encouraged. Horse poop. It's a horse footprint, hoof print. And it's It's not as dangerous, at least in the short term, as illegal drugs. But it's a drug, consumerism. And I'm not a Puritan at all. I believe that adults should have the right to choose how they spend their time and what they put in their body. Let's see, which way do I want to go? And I think that buying is fun. I like buying watches. I like buying other. I'm definitely a product of our culture, even though I critique it. And consumerism isn't, the tricky part about it is that it includes lots of wonderful things too. I mean, I like books on philosophy and spirituality, and I'm a voracious reader of science fiction and fantasy. And to get those things, you need to buy. You need to spend money. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with owning nice watches. But what I'm specifically talking about, or what concerns me, is this notion. I'm going to pause here for a second. It's an old stone wall. Who knows when it was put up, but this is New England. So European settlers have been here for, well, almost 400 years, really. I mean, the first settlers came to Jamestown in the early 1600s, and not long after up in Massachusetts. So some of these walls, I don't think this is 400 years old. It could be 50 years old. But these walls dot New England, and they separate land, and I think that most of them were put up in the 19th century, 1800s, as the European settlers completed the genocide and colonization of the Native American territories. It's the American way. And replaced it with our consumerist culture. Yes, do I sound like a socialist? This isn't socialism, though. I'm not anti-capitalism. I'm not even anti-consumerism. I do think, though, there is something fundamentally problematic, if not immoral, about encouraging the feeling of lack in people. And actually, part of my interest in getting into the work that I'm in is because I'm interested in helping human beings not feel a sense of lack. Feel a sense of, oh, it's pretty awesome to be here. I like being me. I like being alive. And I don't need anything else. I don't need a Rolex or an Omega or somebody's approval to feel good about being alive. And so that's really the whole idea of surrogates, really, is, everything within the consumer system is a surrogate for real well-being. It's a surrogate for kind of the sense of goodness just about being alive that's so easy to lose. I think children naturally have it, and I think we educate it out of them. Mainly because our education system is still based upon the industrial model. It was created 100 years ago or so, and it was about creating productive cogs in the machinery of industry. And then gradually it became also about creating disembodied heads in the community of academia. So on Facebook, Jeffrey McMahon posted an article that was comparing American kindergarten with Finnish kindergarten. And the bottom line is American kindergartners often go in at 4 or 5 years old and are taking standardized tests within 4 or 5 weeks. Finnish kids don't go to kindergarten until they're 6, and their main focus is play. And interestingly enough, I believe Finnish kids test out better at about 15 years old than American kids. So there's something fundamentally wrong with that picture. And this is, this idea of childhood is about becoming an adult. And, or a child is an adult that's only 4 or 5 years old. And we have to fix the error of their ways. So, I personally believe that what children should be doing, especially young children, is playing. Playing. And I would define play as something you do for its own sake. One plays not... yes, there's educational play. There's pedagogical play is one of my least favorite words, pedagogy. And I'm not even saying there isn't a place for that. But the naturalness of a child who engages in activity for its own sake, they haven't been indoctrinated into our mass delusions, which are about productivity and about attainment. And this is, yes, I am admittedly very much along the lines of a noble slacker, although I'm not completely that, to use Jeff's term, noble slacker. And not to get into this now, but yeah, there's some points of difference that I could make with Jeff about this idea of noble slacker. Or maybe there's just variations on what a noble slacker is and could be. But I do feel that, I'm speaking in broad generalizations. And forgive me if whenever you speak in generalizations, you're going to offend somebody. But I think in some ways, there are different sort of deep ideological, cultural streams in our world. The two, perhaps most dominant, which could be considered Eastern and Western. And the Western is very much the dominant stream in the world right now. It's the stream that has essentially brought us consumerism. It's the stream that that is oriented towards becoming more. To use Plato's phrasing, Plato talked about being and becoming. The West is about becoming. It's about evolution, growth, change, development, rising up the tiers. And the East is about being. It's about being. It's about learning how to rest in being. It's about recognizing our oneness with the entirety of existence. Now, when I say the East is about that, I don't mean modern Shanghai or Hong Kong or Tokyo. I mean the deep cultural, philosophical traditions of Taoism and Buddhism and Hinduism compared to the Western streams of the Judeo-Christian, which came out of the Middle East, really, and as well as science and secular humanism. Those are all achievement-oriented. They're all goal-oriented. Whereas the deep Eastern streams, yes, there's the goal of enlightenment in at least some of them, but I think this is a confusion, a later confusion. Taoism, in a way, is the most pure of those traditions, because Taoism is not as much about attaining enlightenment as it is flowing with life. And you could say, well, what's the difference? Maybe the Taoist enlightenment is learning how to flow with life. But I think you see this in Zen, which is modified Taoism, really. It's Taoism plus Buddhism equals Chan or Zen Buddhism. Actually, Chan Buddhism would be Taoism plus Buddhism. And Zen would be Chan Buddhism plus Japanese culture. So these streams, these philosophical, spiritual, ideological, however you want to put it, psychological streams, they travel from place to place, and they integrate with different cultures, and they create a new form. Now, so what we have now is we have the Western dominating. It's spread east. And so you have McDonald's in Beijing. You have the Western economic approach. More. There's a dog just wandering. Well, hello. Look at this friendly face. Hi. Where'd you come from? Hope you're not lost, doggy. How quaint in New England is that? So the Western has in a way won out. Although, interestingly enough, in the United States, in Europe, in Australia, the developed West, you've had these little pockets of the Eastern spiritual traditions taking root. In a way, you can see a lot of this whole trajectory and development in what happened with Tibet, where China, which was traditional Eastern culture, which had been taken over by communism, which was Western, which was a Western ideology from Karl Marx, was taken over and became this hybrid of Western Marxism and Confucianist culture. And they utterly destroyed the Tibetan culture. And all the Tibetan leaders, spiritual figures, fled. Many were tortured and killed. And there's all sorts of abominations that occurred. For instance, the Chinese were known to make the monks and the nuns who had vowed celibacy have sex with each other. So, pretty harsh stuff. Anyways, the Tibetans starting in, I think the invasion was mid-50s, late 50s, and they fled to India and spread throughout the world. And Tibetan Buddhism is very popular in the United States and has little pockets all over the place. Italy, Britain, etc. And other forms of Buddhism spread. And in a way, they've taken up fertile soil in the West because the West needs it. And this is where I want to be clear. I don't think we should drop our Western ways and become Taoist sages. Or rather, I think we should do both. To me, that's the key. Can we play in the world of form and be Taoist sages? Can we rest in being and embrace becoming? Can we play and enjoy the richness of material goods, of luxury, of fucking awesome watches? But at the same time, do so not out of a feeling of lack, but as a feeling of celebration, of richness. And I think some people do that. I think that to me would be Watch Nirvana. Would be somebody that is able to enjoy the beauty and craftsmanship and horology of watches as an expression of who they are, rather than as, look at me, I'm wearing this Breitling, I'm badass, right? And it becomes an expression of who you are, an enjoyment of your existence, an enjoyment of being and becoming, really. So I'm coming to the end of this lane. Actually, I'll show you this farm. It's part of the farm, at least. Where I live, actually, throughout New England, it's really become a movement across the world, but it really started in this area, what's called the CSAs, or Community Supported Agriculture. You could say it's a little bit of a hippie movement, but what it is these farmers who want to provide high quality organic produce and dairy and meat to people who want to eat that kind of food. And without the whole big industry of it, without the packaging and the processing. So how it usually works is you pay for a membership and you get a box of food every week. Or you get to buy eggs that are amazing, or organic milk and cheese and so forth. But here we are across the street, and you probably can't see this, but there's some farmers. Unfortunately, I just did this the narrow way, because I wasn't really planning on doing this. But you can see a little bit. You can always enlarge your screen. You know, it's the last few weeks, I would imagine, of the harvest. So yeah, this is, I'm not a farmer. I like my comforts of civilization. I'm a bit of a Dharma bum. And that's Jeff, that's another, if you made it this far through this video, that's another version of the Noble Slacker, the Dharma bum. Which I believe was Jack Kerouac came up with the term. Or was one of those guys. It wasn't Ken Kesey. I think it was Kerouac. He has a book called Dharma Bums. Anyways, yeah, I like to sit and ponder and contemplate and write and create. I'm not really a hand in the soil kind of guy, but perhaps I should be. I should be a little more balanced. But I appreciate people that are. One of my closest friends is a farmer. And yeah, I really appreciate the people that dedicate their lives to that kind of work. And I think this is the way of the future. I think that we need to get back to this more local approach with our food. Because yeah, things are going to have to change in that way. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed my philosophical ramble of the day. Later. A workout, going for a walk watch. I have some beater watches that I would use for weights, if I did weights. But right now I'm just doing walks. Anyways, it's just a beautiful day. There's some birds crowing, or whatever they're cawing. Just me in these quiet woods. Thank God for fat America. Because the woods, the trails are often empty, at least in this part of the country. This isn't Boulder, Colorado, where the trails would be packed and everyone's good looking and healthy. I was gonna chat a little bit about watches, but it seems to be it's just not in me right now. But anyways, I wanted to share this with y'all. I'll keep it on for another minute or so. There's this, you might see a little orange sign up here. This is a snowmobile trail, meaning snowmobilers will go on it. See that moist, dark earth. This is not California, my friends. Not that there's anything wrong with California, but it is very, very dry there, especially right now. As those who from California know. It is an interesting thing, though. I will say this. Indirectly about watches. It's funny how we want things. It's funny how we want things because we have a feeling of lack. Hello, dear friends and viewers of the Johnny Casual channel. I'm going for a walk in nearby woods. I thought I'd share a little bit of where I live in New England. Just really beautiful. It's a chilly fall day, great day for a walk. These woods are often uninhabitable in the summer with the mosquitoes and black flies, but it's just really, really beautiful right now. Kind of makes watches seem inconsequential, doesn't it? Speaking of which, here we go. Does that Breitling fit the surroundings? I don't really have a during the winter, so now's especially a good time to walk because there's no snow or snowmobiles. That might be either a woodpecker or just an old tree. It's creaking. There's not much of a wind.